Well, aloha, everyone. Welcome to the Healing Source. It's been a long week since I saw you last, where in last week we did the Tao healing for the imbalanced emotion of grief and sadness. And then the week prior to that, we did Tao healing for the imbalanced emotion of fear, is what it was. And actually, I did receive notification from Ilona, who was in the one we did for fear, and she said it definitely made a huge difference for her. Hopefully, we'll be able to have her on next week when we do a gathering of all of those who have received the healing to see how it has positively affected them. So, welcome to this week. It is January 11, 2023, as I record this. Some of you might be listening to this 1 week, 1 year from now. And I encourage you to definitely come to my website, wellspringoflight.com, and learn more about Tao healing and how it works. Through my programs, I have memberships. I have many different ways that this form of healing can positively benefit you. If you are new and are not familiar with Tao healing, the simple version of it is Tao healing is source healing, and I am a certified master teacher and healer. I've been certified by the Tao Academy, and I've received a variety of authorities that give me the opportunity and ability to offer teaching on Tao healing, how you can heal yourself, and how you can heal others. The wisdom around Tao healing is that the root cause of all suffering in life is the negative information and messages that we give ourselves and that we give others. Negative information that we give ourselves might be self-talk, and it could be things like walking through a room where there's unpleasant news on or an unpleasant movie or something like that, and then that violence or that negative news enters our field and our vibration. So the higher wisdom shares that our soul lives forever. You and I do not. And our soul carries this positive information, all the good thoughts, the good words, and the good actions we've done towards ourselves and others. And our soul also carries all the negative information, negative thoughts, words, and actions that we have offered to others. And I think it's very important to understand that when someone is suffering, whether it's a relationship or a health issue, or in the example of this series, about emotions, then it is important to understand what is the origination of that suffering. The answer is the negative frequency and vibration. When we make choices through our thoughts, words, or actions that brings harm to another, a negative thought does bring harm to another. Negative words obviously does, and negative actions. That is not something that happens as we express ourselves and then it goes outside of us and does not impact us. In fact, every time we say something negative, not only does it impact our frequency and vibration negatively, it impacts somebody else. So this is the core understanding of why we have suffering physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, financially, in relationship. Excuse me. And in this example today, emotions. So today we're going to be working with the imbalanced emotion of anger. So raise your hand if you've ever had anger. I'll raise both of my hands because I can definitely, I'm a poster child for that kind of an unpleasant imbalance. Most of the time, that kind of an unpleasant emotion occurs because we have an expectation based on some reasonable presumptions, at least in our head. I do A, B, and C, so I expect, D. So anger typically has a root, which is due to our preconceived notions, those parts of us that have an expectation of a certain outcome. So it can be small, it can be huge. And what is key and what is important to understand, according to the ancient wisdom of the Tao, is that it's not what happens, it's how we react and respond that makes the difference. And over time, most of us tend to become more conscious, more aware, and we start to gauge more our reactions and responses. But there are many of us that do not gauge, we actually get a charge out of being angry because it feels like we've expressed ourselves, and we decompress when we express ourselves in such an angry manner. So one can say that this way is better or that way is better. Ultimately, the highest wisdom says that anger burns virtue. Think about that. That's an ancient wisdom. Anger burns virtue. What does that mean? Virtue is basically good karma. Virtue is what we strive to get more of in our life. So if we are being angry towards other, then we are in essence throwing away our good karma. We are diminishing our stockpile of the good that is in our frequency and vibration that will benefit us. It will benefit our wealth, our finances, our success. It will benefit every part of our life. So when we have anger, we are literally pouring our virtue, our positive benefits right out the door. So it's amazing, truly, how conscientious we need to be about something as simple as anger. I had a unexpected expense yesterday, right? Here we go to expectations. I have X amount in the account. I expect it to pay A, B, and C bill. That's why it's there. And when I look at it, it's changed significantly into the negative. And it was very unexpected, and it created a great deal of shock for me. And I responded to it pretty well because I understand what I'm teaching you. But even in expressing it to my wife, I could see that I had a great anger about it because it was unexpected, right? But again, it boils down to how do we react and how do we respond. So today we have a special guest. Last week she joined us when we were doing the imbalanced emotions of grief and sadness. And I said, okay, next week I'm going to do for fear. And she said, pick me. So she was chosen to be a demonstration person today. And I will love to invite her in shortly. And I also want to welcome Cass and Rena and Senley. Thank you so much for your presence. So happy to see you all here. So help me welcome in Noelia. It's great to have you here, Noelia. Let me unmute you. There you go.
Thank you, Paula. So happy to be here.
So you've been going through some stuff. I chatted with you a little bit, and I connect with you occasionally, so I know that you've had some opportunity recently. Tell us about some of your more recent opportunities to work with anger.
Oh, thank you, Paul. I think as a child, I relate to being one out of 7 kids in my family. So I remember that I was one of the angry kids. I was the second oldest, and 5 girls and 2 boys. Sometimes fighting is inevitable. As one of the oldest, they don't listen to you. And us being the babysitters, the 2 oldest ones, we had to kind of be like a little more authoritative, the parent role, because my parents would go to work and we would take care of the kids or if, whatever the situation was. And then I remember that my mother, I always had a high sense of justice, and she would get together with her comadres, and then they would start talking about things, and I'd be like, "That's not true. It's like this."
Well,
Oh,
you're indignant,
that
yeah,
would make my mom so mad.
defensive.
Then I'd get in trouble, of course. No, but like I think this sense of justice I've had
Oh,
since I was little, and that at the same time also turned to anger at one point in my life when I grew up and I was learning more about the history and everything. It was
mhm.
like this anger about the injustices, about all the pain and suffering, not only mine, but of all the people and what they've had to endure. And I think that it kind of leveled off a little bit at some point, but I don't know that I have addressed it because in the most recent situation that I have had the opportunity to transform or to connect with deeper has been recently the day before Christmas. My furnace stopped working, and we had one of the severe weathers here in Portland. So I was out of a furnace for over a week, and then we were using space heaters throughout the house, but it wasn't enough. That the plumbing broke, And so we froze a little, about froze for about a week. And then the plumbing, since the 24th, finally until today, I have a plumber in my house. So the meanwhile, I try to be very patient and understanding with the insurance company, but literally they did not call me back. I would call them every day and I would say, oh, call my supervisor. Then the supervisor would be like, I'm out, call my backup. So then I'd leave a voice message, and at least 2 voice messages every day for 2 weeks. No response. I was like, and then, you know, I try to be calm, but at
Yeah.
some point, I think I just
Well,
lost it.
3 weeks of being ignored, that'd make anybody a little bit upset, right?
Yeah. And so I finally, my friend Ginger took me out to Lake Oswego to their office last week on Wednesday. And
Okay.
so then the guy at the office calls the agent in charge of my claim. And then he calls me back immediately before I even leave the office. Oh, somebody will be at your house in 2 days and that'll get repaired. We've been so busy. There's been such a high demand. And I was like, okay, whatever. You couldn't have called me earlier, but okay, something else. So then nothing, no call, nobody showed up, no for. And then on Monday I go back to the office. By that time I was like angry, but it was like anger, but it was like this sadness. I was just bawling in the guy's office. I was like, you don't realize how hard it is. And oh my God, I totally lost it. And I can say that probably more than one occasion, this whole situation, the stressful things and everything, caused me not only to be angry, but in fear and anxiety. Like I experienced the whole of the emotions connected to that, because it feels like you spin out of control a little bit in one and then the others pop up and you're like, what is going on? It's like, is this ever going to get fixed? And I think that I, coming from a quote unquote third world, I could handle so much and I'm pretty resilient. But I think where my heart would ache is because I have roommates. I have my brother, I have somebody else who doesn't have a car, and to not be able to have basic necessities, lucky I could go to work,
So your sense of
take my time.
responsibility was
Yeah,
affected as well.
yeah, I think, and that was what got me the most. That's what fueled a little bit more my anger, my frustration and anxiety. Is like, I'm responsible for these people,
Yeah.
and they don't even have the resources. I could escape and go to my sister's house and take care of my needs, but how about them?
Yeah,
And
well, that's a good point. Your pipe's broke, so you can't go to the bathroom, you can't run water, you can't take a shower, and for at least first week there was no heat, and you had to deal with that for almost 3 weeks. So certainly that's a lot to deal with. Let me ask you this: um, uh, if you were to look at your whole life history, you can see where there's definitely pockets of anger. Um, what would you say was the root cause of that anger? Would it be that you had expectations? Would it be what you said earlier about I have a certain criteria of justice? I think was the word you used. But was this more of an injustice as well?
yeah, I think because I had a sense of justice, of what was just or what was not. And when you get to learning about people's experiences or the way that you are treated, and you see that it's unfair, as a person of color, as a kid of color, at the very beginning, you learn that you're different, but it's also because the way that you're treated around you, the
Mhm.
way that people see you, then you start to inquire more about it. And then you get to college, then you start reading, then you start hearing of other experiences. And then there's a resentment and an anger that builds up. But, also, I guess, in that way. And that's kind of how it develops. But you're right, I did have a sense of an
You
expectation.
know, what I think is important here for our listening audience is the theme that runs through this, and the theme that we'll do the healing on, is injustice. Um, there's the possibility that it has associations with, um, uh, as you said, I'm a person of color, so I can't try and grab the word right now, but um, there could be some roots there, right? And so it seems to have followed you through your life. Now, in terms of the Tao healing, what is really important for everyone who's listening to understand is that everything is in our vibration. Nothing happens to us accidentally. It's already in our vibration. So the question becomes, how did it get there? The ancient wisdom says that the Buddha, which is another way of saying the person on the enlightened path, the Buddha does not fear the cause. They fear, the Buddha does not fear the effect. They fear the cause. Okay. So we're busy over here in the effect saying, this is maybe not the right word. You haven't used this word. It's my own word, but like I'm the victim of this injustice, so to speak, right? And it seems to be a theme throughout our life. But that's also the effect. What's the cause? And so for all of us, when we have a condition that impacts our life negatively, like the one I mentioned I had yesterday and the one that you guys probably had in your own life, we're looking at the effect. If we're going to grow, if we're going to heal from any part of our life that we want to bring a higher version of ourselves to, if we want to not be so negatively impacted by things like anger, then we need to say, okay, where is my responsibility in this? Okay, and in the case of this, the Tao wisdom would say we need to do forgiveness around creating conditions for others that cause them to feel injustice, that cause them to feel inferior or left out or judged or criticized, right? Anything that you or your ancestors may have done in this or any lifetime, because that's why it's in our vibration, right? It's like what I mentioned earlier when you were preparing, Noelia. I said that if I have a negative thought, it doesn't leave and go to the other, doesn't leave my mind. It affects that other person. It affects my vibration and it affects the other person's vibration, even though it was just a thought. And it's the same thing with when I verbally express something. So the Tao wisdom would say that if we have anger, we've created it in others. In this case, we've identified injustice. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do a Tao healing for this condition, as has been defined, and we'll also do a forgiveness practice. Does that sound okay?
And thank you, Paul. And I would say that probably it also has to do ancestral, like you said.
Yeah, I'm sure there's
a huge root of ancestral.
There's some of that. Is always 50-50, right? 50% of our stuff is ours and 50% is ancestral. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to trace a special Tao calligraphy for Noelia. Now, let me set this up to show you, and so this special Tao calligraphy is called Da Quan Shu, and what it represents is the greatest forgiveness. Da Quan Shu literally translates to the greatest forgiveness. Now, this for those that are new, never listening to this for the first time on podcasts or never seen a Tao calligraphy, in essence, it is a form of healing art. When it is created, Master Sha, the founder of this healing art, connects to the source. He then channels source frequency and vibration through his hand, through the brush, and onto the paper. The frequency and vibration from the source, which is very healing and pure positive high frequency, resides within this spiritual art, this Tao calligraphy. And when we interact with it through what's called tracing, which we're all going to do in just a few minutes, what happens is that piece of art, which in essence is a portal, a holder of pure high frequency and vibration, it becomes activated. So we connect to it, which I'll walk you through. We then activate it and we trace it. And we'll do this together to bless Noelia and ourselves. And the end result is that the negative frequency and vibration that's on our soul's field gets reduced. The percentage of that reduction is dependent upon the frequency and vibration of the Tao heart. And it also depends upon how long you interact with that piece of Tao art. Okay? So, does that sound like something that you would enjoy, Noelia?
Oh, thank you. Definitely. Okay.
So what we're going to do is we're going to touch our 5 fingers together for those that are in the listening audience. If you're listening on podcast, you may not see this, but you can also come to my website, wellspringoflight.com and go to the podcast area, go to the blog area where I always have the video. You can listen and watch. But for those that are watching on this live stream, I'm on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter right now. Touch your 5 fingers together, and we're going to trace this source calligraphy. We're going to follow the lines. And how it works is we go start at the top and go around the circle 3 times. And we're going to go around the circle 3 times, and then we're going to drop in to the, there we go. And you can go ahead and answer that if you need to, Noelia. I'm going to drop into the source calligraphy. I'm trying to get the best view here for you guys. Okay. And we're going to do the large character first, and then you follow it around to the smaller character. And as we do the smaller character, again, follow the lines as best you can. It'll be easier to see on a larger screen. And we're going to incorporate, I'm already drawing the lines, we're going to incorporate what's called the 4-power technique. These 4 powers are sound power, what we chant is what we become, mind power, sound power, I already mentioned that, mind power, body power, which is where we have our hands, and soul power. So I'm going to walk Noelia through a gentle forgiveness practice so that we can receive the greatest value. So silently repeat, Noelia. And this forgiveness practice for everybody else out there can be replicated for yourself anytime. Dear humanity, dear all souls, on behalf of my ancestors and myself, I wish to sincerely apologize the negative messages and information we have accepted around injustice, around being the victim of our race, our culture, our color. Please forgive me and my ancestors, this and any lifetimes, that we may have offered this kind of injustice to others, this kind of segregation or judgments of any kind that might have created a condition where injustice or anger was felt. We deeply apologize if we have ever created those kinds of conditions upon others. We ask the source calligraphy and all of the most pure, positive frequency and vibration within to please bless Noelia and all those that are watching and tracing to help transform their anger, to help transform the roots that might be causing their anger, because it may not be injustice. We're extremely grateful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So we're all going to trace, and we're going to trace for Noelia, and you'll, as a natural side effect, receive healing for yourself. Heal one, heal all. So we're going to go around 3 times. 1, 2, 3, slowly as you'd like. And then you drop down into the large character called Da. And moving to the left side. Do your best to follow that character. It's not easy for me to write on the screen and show you the pathway. Don't know if you actually see my cursor or not, so I cannot show you the pathway very easily. And now we're going to add the sound power, which is mantra and chanting. Mantra and chanting, sound power carries frequency and vibration. The hand position carries frequency and vibration. And even visualizing light coming to Noelia's heart center, releasing these old patterns. All of this cumulatively assists in transforming the negative vibration. So we will chant Da Quan Chu and greatest forgiveness intermingled. If you feel comfortable, you're welcome to join me. If not, you can certainly chant silently. Let us begin. Da Quan Chu, 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 Da Quan Shu. 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 Greatest forgiveness. 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 We'll now continue to serve for 2 or 3 more minutes. There's another mantra very similar. It says, I forgive you. Please forgive me. Bring love, peace, and harmony. And it acknowledges that we have harmed others, which is why this is in our field. They have harmed us, so we may hold grudges against them. So then let us forgive each other. I forgive you. Please forgive me. Bring love, peace, and harmony. Let us continue to trace and chant that 1 or 2 times. I forgive you. Please forgive me. Bring love, peace, and harmony. Bring love, peace, and harmony. I forgive you. Please forgive me. Bring love, peace, and harmony. Bring love, peace, and harmony. One more round. I forgive you. Please forgive me. Bring love, peace, and harmony. Bring love, peace, and harmony. Wonderful. Okay, so let's check in. What, if anything, do you notice, Noelia?
I noticed that there was some releasing. I felt it in my third soul house. I also felt a lot of yawning, some yawning. And so I know that something has transformed, even though lately, since I have been with Master Sha, like I understand the spiritual wisdom, so that hadn't happened as much, but it is the root, and you still got to get to the root deep. And so with this tracing, I felt like it went deeper because you were tracing for me, and we have this beautiful field open with such a high light vibration. So more of that information that maybe it's not that I hadn't focused, that's still deep inside, even though it hasn't had as much release lately, but it's still there if it didn't heal you. And so I'm very grateful. And I apologize about that. It's my sister calling.
Okay. Well, I know, I'm going to move towards wrap up, so I want to say thank you for coming in. Next week, I gather there's 3 different services, 3 different people. So if you are able to make it next week, we can have you come in and just share a minute or two of any changes you might notice in the course of this week. Okay?
Thank you. My sisters will love and appreciate this. New blessing. They'll be like, oh, thank
Tell
you.
them I said hi. We'll talk to you later.
Talk to you later.
All right. Bye bye. So, to share with you what's transpired today, we all have emotions. This is part of being human. And those that would like to have more balance in their emotions, they want to be conscientious that many times emotions, excuse me, can affect us when we're not expecting them. They can just rise up and sometimes take over us. Part of the reason why is because it's already in our frequency and vibration. So instead of defaulting to the victim mode of, why does this happen to me? Why do I always worry? Why do I always have anxiety or fear or depression? You know, instead of being in that end result, which is the effect, start changing your consciousness to what is the cause? There's something in my frequency and vibration that I need to transform. And then you would apply the Tao healing techniques, including the Tao forgiveness. The Tao calligraphy that I use today is something that I offer almost daily in my membership program with all the students that join. We're doing practice on a daily basis with these Tao calligraphies, which radiate this extraordinary frequency and vibration to help erase the negative information that can just show up in our life and create havoc in your world. So one of the fastest ways of reducing that form of disruption in our life is to be conscientious that we do not have to always be reacting and responding and be at the end of an effect of something that might have happened earlier in our life, the cause, right? We want to be in front of that and change the cause. And we can change that cause by applying Tao healing to our life each and every day. We can change that cause by thinking positively, watching our thoughts, watching our words, watching our actions. When we do have a negative thought, word, or action, instantly ask forgiveness. When an unpleasant event occurs that affects us, start to see it differently. Ask, well, why did that happen? Instead of going into the poor me and the victim mode, why did that happen? How can I transform that? How can I apply any of the healing transmissions that I've received, or the Tao calligraphies, or the forgiveness practice to reduce this negative effect that it's having on me? And when you consciously address life through this new awareness, there's really nothing you cannot accomplish. And each day will get better and better and better when you start practicing Tao healing on a daily basis. So this ends today's program. I'd like to invite you to learn more coming to my website, wellspringoflight.com. Take advantage of the free course that I offer there. It's called Heal Your Soul, Heal Your Life. Very soon, I will be having a new course coming out for healing your relationship. That one won't be free, but I tell you, it's so powerful. 21 separate videos, 9 separate modules. It's about 4 hours of direct wisdom on how to apply Tao healing to heal your relationships. So very powerful program. Looking forward to revealing that in just a few weeks here. So until I see you next week, same time, have an awesome day, everybody. Bye-bye.